Deputy Ewan victorious in the red yard.
And after a frantic first race, we're here for the second round of the Formula SimRacing IndyPRO Championship. Today from Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin for another sprint and feature race. Myself, Cameron and Rodger bringing you through the action along with Ewan O'Leary. And Ewan, it was certainly a very exciting start to the season a couple of weeks ago, but we're back for round two. What do you think we can expect this time?
Well, hopefully more of the same, because it was very good racing. This circuit out at Elkhart Lake is, I would say, a little bit easier to overtake on as well, of all places, apart from Indianapolis that we had a couple of weeks ago. So it could be even more exciting. And one point I will make straight off the bat is what a great round NetRex Grand Prix had in Indianapolis. Absolutely fantastic, easily bettering anything they ever did in last season's IndyPro Championship, all in one race. They've got a huge lead in the Constructors' Championship, by the way. I know that's fairly academic at this stage, but it just shows what a great time they had of things 2 weeks ago, and we'll see how they can carry that forward here this afternoon.
Yeah, Noah Roivers and Jan Mosnica having a very good start to the season. They are tied on points, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's first of all have a look at the calendar. So a couple of weeks ago we had Indianapolis here. Today we got Elkhart Lake Raceway, and then in next week actually we have we've labelled it as the community vote, and there is currently I believe about 20 minutes left on that vote, which will finish during the sprint race. And then during the warm-up session today, we will announce what that track is going to be. There has been a vote between Virginia, Portland and Sebring. And as I say, we'll reveal the results of that in just over 20 minutes time when we get to that, before we finish the season with the two oval races of Apple Valley and the Indy 300 as well. So so the standings are looking pretty close. We'll get them hopefully in a second. But yes, no Roivers, Jan Mosca, they are tying on points with 54. Then Lim DeVal back on 50, but it's all looking pretty close behind them as well, Ewan.
Yeah, it absolutely is. There's a lot of people in contention, obviously, at this early stage. And one point about Peter Burliak, fourth place for him. He kind of prioritised getting those sprint race points by going on the soft tyres early on, and really romping away from the field, to be honest, in that race. It was a very easy win for him in the end, but only managed 8th in the reverse grid race, where he had to start quite a long way down and also had to take 2 sets of the harder compounded tyres. So was that the best choice in the end? Well, the fact that he's lost out on 6 points compared to Roivers and Bosnica points to the fact that maybe it's not. But we saw over the last season that the strategy developed as you went on. A few people seeing what others are doing and thinking, well, that's a good idea, I might do that myself. But if too many of you jump on the same bandwagon, then it all of a sudden becomes not the advantageous strategy anymore, because you'll just keep falling over each other. So I don't think it matters too much who's really up towards the front and who's really down towards the back. A couple of big names had some pretty poor races, like Yuri Kazdorp never really got going last 2 weeks ago, and Michi Hoyer, to name another one, didn't really get going last round either. But I don't think it matters too much at this stage. We're very early on, and even in these races in isolation, they are definitely going to be a factor.
Oh, certainly indeed. And the prizes for this championship were actually given out in the Teams Championship. The top 3 in the Teams Championship get a cash prize as well. And currently, the NetRex P1 Sim Grand Prix team are leading with 108 points. But second place, Wolves GR eSports, have 58 points. So almost half already after just one round, which shows you how dominant that NetRex P1 Sim team had. And the person on screen, Peter Burliak, as we jump into the qualifying session, it is a bit of an interesting situation because he is a single driver. So he obviously will be able to fight for the Drivers' Championship, but there's no way he's going to be able to get too high up in the teams. As well, for this race, we also have Dennis Lind for Cetrez Nitavelix, because there's basically a 15-team limit, but because Williams only have one driver, that left a space for the maximum of 30 drivers, and we now have, as I said, Dennis Lind for Cetrez Nitavelix, so look out for him, but he will be starting from the back of the field today.
He will indeed, not able to qualify on this occasion. Neither is Alan Terzic, by the way. Neither of those two will be able to qualify, so they'll be starting on the very back row of the grid together, you would imagine. But the first time of the first run of times are about to roll in here. We've got a good 20 drivers who are out there at the moment. It's going to be a bit of a mashup at the front, so we'll wait and see who comes out on top. But early on, it's Thomas Vack, by the looks of things, who's just taken a tenth and a half from Petter Berliak. Jacob Reed getting in there. Vosnicker again. He qualified so well at Indianapolis. Looks like he's doing it again to the low 46s already.
Yeah, that's a really good lap time. I haven't seen a 45 yet, but the track will be getting quicker and quicker as the drivers obviously set their laps and the rubber starts increasing. We've got Janos Brakshock here. He had a pretty decent feature race with the reverse grid pole last time, and that obviously let him and his team get up into that third place in the Constructors' Championship along with Benchik, his teammate. But let's see what he does as he comes across the line. Where's he going to put himself up to? Only a 10th place, just shy of a second off the pole.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 12 drivers currently separated by less than a second right now. Ricardo Costa is all arms and legs going through the left-hander there. Final right-hander onto the front straight now, trying to get himself sorted out, and we'll see where he can get up to. I can't imagine he'd do well to get inside the top 10. I think it's looking quite competitive at the moment, but you never know. Costa over the line, and he does squeeze himself into 9th place.
Yeah, he had a really nice feature race as well, which is a lot better for Costa because he did struggle in the 2021 main season from SimRacing, where he was driving for Epic Racing, now back in Huanaco for today, or for this series. And on board we are here with Wolves GR Racing's Jake Denahan. He and his teammate Liam Duval sitting second in that team's championship at the moment, so looking pretty good. Denahan not having the best race in Indianapolis. Those points really came from Liam Duval, who, like Petter Berliak, really used those soft tyres in the sprint race to gain some good points.
Absolutely, and that's the story for most teams, apart from NetRex. One driver having a good day, and one driver having not such a good day, I'm afraid. So Daniel Hannah will at least be hoping to turn it around, and even if it's not for his own personal gain, it will be for his team that hopefully he can grab some very important points for. And obviously a good qualifying is going to be setting him on his way to try and do that. So we'll see if indeed that's going to be the case. Bit wide through the final corner though. It's one of the most important ones on this circuit because it's a long straight down towards turn number 1 here at Elkhart Lake. So you do need that final corner to go well. It hasn't really for Denahan there, I'm afraid, and it's 15th for now.
Yeah, he's a little bit off his teammate. I'm sure he would want to be a bit closer, 1 second slower than his teammate Liam Duval, who's up there in 3rd place at the moment, as we jump on board with Carlos Martin, who had a few contacts with some other drivers back at Indianapolis. But let's see how he's going to do today as he's coming up to finish this second sector, obviously setting personal best green time at the moment. As we get towards the second sector marker, doing a pretty good job so far. There's a few drivers there locking up into the final real braking zone. A good overtaking opportunity later on as well, before we come into these final couple of corners, which are so fast and so tricky. You really have to be careful with how you do your steering and throttle inputs before he comes out of the final corner. And let's see where the Valley Esports driver can get himself sort of on loan from the NetRex contingency, but let's see where he is going to put himself up into 18th place. I think he would be a little bit disappointed with that, because we all know Carlos Martin is a faster driver than we see there.
Yeah, quite possibly. He did a great job in the feature race last time, as you mentioned. Just had to start outside of the top 20 in that one after a poor sprint race, but managed to find himself inside the top 10 at the end of it. Looks like it's going to be a bit of a recovery drive for him once again if that continues on. So let's wait and see. As Liam Duval, he picked up his first FSR World Championship podium here in this season in the very first round in Imola, and now he's getting ready to try and get on the podium again, hopefully in one of these Indy Pro races. Obviously 3rd place in the championship at the moment, 2nd place in the first race, so he's running well at the moment, and the purple sector was looking fantastic for him early on, but his middle sector not quite as good, certainly not as good as Jan Vosniker's, who has gone quicker once again at the front of the field.
And what is Duval going to do as he comes across the line? He's really one to look out for, to getting some good results, but it's just 2nd place. But also the 2 Red Bull cars I've just noticed, Jordan and Kastorp, both of them up in the top 5, as well as Thomas Vack, who is seeing here going for a bit of an outlap as well. The drivers are limited to 3 hot laps basically during the course of this 10-minute session. And with it being such a long lap, actually, it's quite easy to potentially actually miss your final lap if you don't get out in time to start that final lap, as Noah Rovers has jumped up there into 4th place as well.
It's a bit of a squeeze here, really, because we can see, I would say, maybe nearly half the drivers still in the pit lane. Duval is not going to get another go. Roivers won't. Reed won't. Neither will Scroron. Those are the only ones in the top 10 who won't get a go. Bruckstock is going to be disappointed with 12th, and he's going to be only there at best. And Schmidt, obviously 15th, going to stay there. Major, 20th. Pignataro, very much disappointed. Yartian hasn't qualified for whatever reason. He won't get the opportunity to do that. So it really is a bit of a squeeze for all of these guys to get 3 laps in, because as you mentioned, 1 minute 46 of a lap time is quite a long lap, especially compared to Indianapolis that we had last time out. And we'll see what track's coming up next. I guess that it does change things. Obviously for the ovals, the qualifying's a little bit different anyway. But this is certainly a different challenge to what we had at Indianapolis with regards to the qualifying. Much less time for you to get yourself sorted out.
Yeah, you really got to be getting those laps in. And let's see, Yuri Kazdorp here coming across the line. 30 seconds to go. He's going to be starting his lap. And of course, you can finish your lap as long as you have started it within that 10 minutes. Such a tricky turn 1 here. It's actually a really fast corner. And it sort of looks like it's going to be easy. But with all the elevation change and everything, it's a little bit slidey out of turn 3 there before you come down through the kink of turn 4. Before turn 5, where you then finish sector 1. Such a difficult couple of corners on paper. On the track map, it actually looks very simple, as he's using all the road to try and get a good run up this hill into a very tricky braking zone into turn 6.
Yeah, you can't really see where you're going here, and oh dear, Kazdorp was really pointing it at the apex, sliding his way through there. Very high speed right-hander coming up here, all trying to keep things together. Another downhill braking zone at turn 8. There's so many of them on this circuit where you're going downhill trying to brake all at the same time, and then the long carousel, which is 9 and 10 going on the exit. Very difficult to get right. When do you get on the power? Is stepping on it too early will send you out sideways, as we saw a couple of times for Kazdorp there. Through the kink they go. Very, very high speed here. Barely a lift at all, even if there is any at all. Then these kinks, which are bizarrely not corner names, especially when you compare the first part of the lap. But anyway, Canada corner, another tricky braking zone, 90-degree right-hander, and then the very tricky left-hander at the penultimate turn as well. Very bumpy here before the final one.
Yeah, so difficult indeed. And Kazdorp, he has improved in that first sector with a decent middle sector, but he is sort of all over the place, trying to get the most he can out of the car. You see quite a few drivers have finished already. Some drivers actually not improving, but where can Kazdorp improve? Is he going to improve? No, he's going to stay there in 6th place at the moment. Petter Burlak down in 8th place at the moment. He's it says on the timing that he's actually finished, but he has set a first sector, so I don't know if this lap is actually going to count for Petter Burlak, as Jan Woska is on a lap, but he is not improving. Duval's in the pit, so that looks like all of those top positions have been concluded, as long as Jan Woska doesn't think of improving in that final sector. But we will just see if this lap is going to count from Burlak, because the sectors are counting, but the finish flag by his name, I think he got to the line just a little bit too late to be able to do that. But anyway, let's see what Burlak does as he comes out of the final corner. Is the game going to register his time, or will he sit there in that 9th place? Obviously the winner of the first race of the season. He does actually improve, which is interesting. He had a check flag by his name, but he's given his lap and he will start in P2.
Yeah, and another late improver as well was Ricardo Costa, who got up into 4th place from where he was in 9th. So he's done a good job there to get himself onto the first 2 rows of the grid, behind Vosnica Burliak and Liam Duval, who are the top 3. Then Dennis Jordan, consistent as ever, in 5th, ahead of Noah Roivers, Thomas Vack, Jacob Reed, Yuri Kazdorp and Demian Skrovron, your top 10.
And the times are a little bit more spread out here compared to Indianapolis, which you would expect with it being a 6.5 kilometre track. Obviously about 2.5 kilometres longer than the Indianapolis one. Before we get here to the second page, a couple of names you may expect to be a little bit higher up there. But I mean, Michi Hoyer, for instance, 7 tenths off. He had such a good season in the main season. of 2021, but struggling a bit in this IndyCar. Brackshock as well. Can he get that reverse grid pole again? That worked for him a treat last race. And also a couple of other guys such as Carlos Martin down there, who you'd think would probably be able to work his way up the field just a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. He will certainly be doing that, and so will the likes of Yartian, Dennis Lind, and also Alan Terzic as well, who all didn't qualify in that particular qualifying session. They're all going to be fighting their way through the field, you would imagine, especially Terzic, who had that decent run out at Indianapolis, 6th place and an 11th in the 2 races there. So he's going to be looking to get himself inside the top 10 a little bit more consistently, maybe in the next few moments. But watch out for those guys towards the back to really be providing the entertainment, especially in the sprint race. But of course, we've got that strategy to think about here. Once again, you've got to use 2 sets of hard tyres across the 2 races. The ones you start on in the sprint race are the ones that count forward, and then any tyre you use in the feature race count as well. No tyres from qualifying count, unlike the World Championship normal season that we've had throughout this year. Expect those towards the front. Maybe the pole sitter, 2nd place or so, to maybe be going on the softs like we saw last time with Berliak, who was right up towards the front and took the softs. But most of them should be getting a set of hard tyres out of the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategic situation because Berliak, once again, starting in 2nd place, as he did a couple of weeks ago as well. So I would assume he's probably going to go on the soft. But the thing is, if you look at the standings, everyone who finished, because we have the reverse situation after the finish of the sprint race, everyone who did well in the sprint race then finished a bit lower down than the people obviously around sort of the P10 mark. So you then obviously have to balance out where you're going to get your advantage. Interestingly, Berliak looks to be on the primes, as well as everyone else, apart from Brackshock and Rainey at the moment, which is an interesting one because you'd think he'd then want to go and bank the points like he did last time. So I don't know. We'll see how it works out and who is going to do what. But I wouldn't be surprised if he does go on the soft again, bank those points. And because remember, Berliak actually got spun around in turn 1 in the feature race as well. So that hindered his opportunity there. But he already had the points from the sprint race.
Yes, that is true, and it wasn't his fault. But the fact that he was in the midfield and in the danger zone, I would call it, was because of the reverse grid. And if he didn't win the first race, then he wouldn't have been reversed so badly into the midfield, and so will be less likely to get caught up in that kind of madness. So, while on the one hand, yes, it wasn't his fault, he was also in that danger zone by design, and that is the danger with that strategy. If you bank in the points in the sprint race, yes, he's only 6 points off the championship lead at the moment, so it wasn't a terrible day, and he could have done better. But you will be constantly putting yourself in the danger zone with that strategy on the race 2 start.
Yeah, and so just to go over the point system. So in the sprint race, the points are only for the top 20 drivers, with 25 points for the win there. And then the feature race, everyone down to P30 gets a point, but there's 35 points on offer. So the sprint race, even though it's a third of the distance, is only worth 10 points less. So that's why the sprint race is obviously quite an important one to try and do. But you obviously have to be careful because the primes are quite a lot slower. They're somewhere around half a second, a second a lap slower. And you will see anyone who chooses the soft tyres in the sprint race will really be making gains. Then obviously you get into that situation in the feature race, you've got to use the primes twice, and there's not much that you can do. The fuel tank here lasts about 10-11 laps, normal driving. So with a 28 lap race, there's obviously quite a lot of other laps than you've got to spend on the primes if you want to do a full stint in the soft.
And just to reiterate that 10 to 11 laps applies to most of the drivers, but to Dennis Jordan, well, the fuel tank lasts a bit longer. It seems to be. I believe he did pull off the one-stop strategy 2 weeks ago. I can't quite remember if he did or he just went for a very short stop at the end. But yes, he can make those fuel tanks last a little bit longer than everyone else.
Yes, let's see who is going to be on the grid. As we'll get to in a second, we'll have a rolling start here at Elkhart Lake. And we got the grid animation going a little bit faster. Let's try that again. Jan Mosca on the pole from Peter Berliak and Liam Duval. We've also Ricardo Costa up there in 4th place. And I mean, these four really looking good so far this season, so not surprised to see them up there. Before we have Dennis Jordan, Noah Rovers, Tomasz Fak, and Yuri Kastorp rounding out the top 8. So the Red Bull cars having a bit of a better day of it. Kastorp struggled a bit a couple of weeks ago. Then we have the 2 burst cars of Skovron and Hoyer before Denahan, and the first of the evolutions with Bock there in 12th place. As we get on to the second half of the field, we get Janos Brakshock, Jukapeka Lalu, Adam Rainey, and Pascal Schmidt there, who I believe the 2 evolution cars also tried that one stop a couple of weeks ago in Indianapolis. Then we have Stupkowski and Carlos Martin before we come on to the formation lap where we'll just finish off. We got Benchik, then we have Danny Van Den Eet, Remco Major, Zoltschuk, Roberto Pinataro. Then we got Frenzy, Tyne Lind, Terzic, and Jacob Reed also towards the back of the field as well. But it is going to be a rolling start, so the drivers will roll around. And the rolling start always can have a bit of action as you get down to turn 1 because the cars are going a lot faster, but with some cold brakes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting turn 1 because it's not exactly a big braking zone, and a bit of a smash like Indianapolis has the potential to be on occasion, but it does still provide the opportunity for the guys to fan out just a little bit, even though it is a bit narrower. There's less places to go. We're not going to be seeing the 3 and 4 wide situations that we quite did a couple of weeks ago, but we might still see some very much interest going in towards turn number 1. I'm sure we will. One thing of note, Jacob Reed being all the way down there, he didn't qualify all the way down there. I think he was inside the top 10 in qualifying, but I think also he had some connection problems towards the end of that session, and so he's been put towards the back. For that. Very unfortunate for him, but another one to watch. A number of fast drivers towards the back of this field early on in this race, and another man to watch is the one we're on board with right now, Janos Brakshock, who is going to be very quick on these tyres. Where can he get to is the question.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm surprised Burlak didn't go for the softer alternate tyres again, because it works so well for him. But as I said, the issue is then you have to use 2 primes in the feature race, and you're just obviously slower, and the feature race is is so long that you have to use those tyres for it's not like you can just do quick little 3 to 5 lap stints. You are going to have to use them for a bit of time to make it to the end there, and you'll obviously be losing a bit of time from that. So this is, I would say, the safer option, and everyone inside the top 12 is on those primes. And just to go over, the reverse grid is a random number picked between 8 and 12. So we don't know exactly who's going to get that reverse grid pole. The drivers driving don't know who is, but once the grid maker sets the grid for that second race, we will then find out who's going to be on pole, and that always adds something a little bit interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely does, and it does make winning the race a little bit less attractive, but obviously the points will make these guys absolutely go for it. To be honest with you, I think Petr Berdek thinks he can win this race on the primary tyres. I don't think I think he thinks that he doesn't need the alternate tyres, and I would tend to agree with him on that one, although Voznicka's going to be a very fierce competitor here this season. They're going to be going toe-to-toe. Definitely in towards turn number 1, hopefully throughout the race.
Yeah, Petr Berdek won that sprint race a couple of weeks ago by something like 10-15 seconds, but today he needs to battle once again with Woznicka, but this time on the same tyres. Who is going to come out on top? Is it going to be the Networks P1 Sim driver, or is it going to be the Williams eSports driver? Let's find out as we come out of the final corner. Once we get to the bridge section, Woznicka can then choose when he is going to accelerate. Will he do it early? Will he do it late? And how will we get down into turn number 1? Let's see what's going to happen. There's already a bit of contact in the background. I see a front wing on the floor, and Woznicka has gone. Let's see who's going to come into second place, though, because Woznicka has such a nice lead. Looks like Deval's going to be getting down the inside of Petr Berdek. Another wing flying in the background. There's definitely been some situations going on back there as Deval gets into that second place. Berdek's being pushed out by Ricardo Costa as well down the inside of turn number 2. Adam Rainey's gone for a bit of a spin. Is Costa going to be able to make it down the inside of Berdek? Yes, he isn't actually. So Berdek manages to hold on with that. And also in the background, we've got the 2 burst cars and Tomasz Fak with Yuri Kastorp as well going side by side.
It was Adam Rainey who went off there at turn 1 and 2 there, by the way. He was spinning off wildly into the grass as the leaders were getting away nice and cleanly. Both Red Bull cars now down the inside. Jordan on Roivers and Kastorp on Vak, but the latter having a much more successful outcome there into 7th place to be trailing his teammate now who's in 6th. So the leaders have got away well, and Liam Deval made a good start there, tucking in right behind Voznicka. Burliak being stuck on the outside line there. kind of didn't really have anywhere to go and couldn't hang it around the outside. Costa nearly did him for third as well, so that was nearly bad for him. But here we are in the midfield. It's all starting to settle out a little bit as the two burst cars battle a little bit with Jake Dennehan.
And Adam Rainey, you can see on the track map, he's still going, but he's quite a bit behind the field. So he will get points if he gets himself up into top 20. So might as well keep going to see what can happen for now. As again, this bit of a train forming behind Yannick Bock there, because we have see these drivers trying to find themselves in a good place. But look at this train for second place. Wolska's got a bit of a lead, but Deval is holding up quite a few drivers.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and you get the feeling that Berliak, if he was in that second position, would he be able to give Vosnica a little bit of a closer run for his money? Well, we might be able to find out here very soon as Costa gets it all wrong through the final corner. Look at that, Roivers is already through, never mind before the start-finish straight, but before they go up the hill here. So Costa tucks back in and might be able to repass as Jordan is on the case now as well. Can he sneak it through the middle and go free wide? Not quite, as Berliak goes into second place ahead of Deval, for now at least.
Oh, Ricardo Costa there having to defend quite a lot, or actually really take the position back from Noah Roivers, as we now got the two Red Bull cars behind them as well. So Dennis Jordan's had a couple of issues there on the opening couple of laps. The slipstream is actually quite powerful in this car, so let's see if Jordan can get that position back. Coming into P4, Castor's trying to get through with a bit of a bump draft onto the braking zone on the outside of turn number 5. Roivers with a double lock up there. Is Castor going to be able to go around the outside? He's sort of blocked a little bit by his teammate actually, and he couldn't get to the power down as he wanted, and he's had to fill in behind.
Well, Castor was pushing Jordan there as he saw, and we thought we would have to wait till the ovals to at least see that, but Jordan being pushed there and almost pushed into outbraking himself, and as you say, actually got in the way of Castor in trying to make the move on Roivers as well. So not intentionally, of course, but the way he was sliding around and so on made it very, very difficult. As just looking a little bit further down to Jonas Braxton and Carlos Martin, whereas their progress got them to 9th and 12th at the moment. Braxton's done a good job on the first lap here to get through 3 cars, but most importantly get through that train, which is starting to form. Now he can get himself towards the leaders, and all of a sudden second place may well be on the cars, although there's going to have to be a lot of overtaking in quite quick succession going on here.
Yeah, there's obviously quite a bit less lap count here because the track is a lot longer. However, the laps still go by pretty quickly and the overtaking opportunities go by pretty quickly, so you've got to be on it. But this straight down into turn 1 is certainly one of the best overtaking opportunities. Such a long straight. Kastorp there and Roivers both getting the rear a bit squiggly, but is Kastorp going to be able to get through with the slipstream? He's going to be getting himself down the inside. The two Dutch drivers going side by side into the braking zone. Who's going to be bigger on the brakes? It looks like Noah Roivers on the outside is going to be able to hold it, but Kastorp will then have the inside for turn 2 and 3. Roivers managing to come back on the track just inside, and Kastorp is having to stay behind just for now. So your joint championship leader Noah Roivers losing out to his teammate at the moment, but having a good battle indeed.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's plenty more of the guys who did well last time out, like Berliak, Deval, Costa, Jordan. They're all here at the front, so it's very much a familiar look to the front of this field as Kastorp using all of the space on the right hand side and maybe a little bit more to try and get it around the outside of Noah Roivers, but once again he can't do it, and this is starting to really hurt both of their races really. If you look at the car lengths that are opening up towards Dennis Jordan, they're both starting to lose time in this fight.
And Thomas Schwack is coming to join them as well, and not too long will be Janos Brakshock on those softer tyres. The alternates they will definitely wear quite a bit by the end of the sprint race. However, he should still have a grip advantage as we're getting some yellow flags as well. I can't quite see who's going to drop down, but anyway, let's see if we can have a look at what happened a little bit earlier. We're going to see Adam Rainey here. He's going to be on the inside of turn number 1. He's got is that bot going around his outside. Is he Rainey just going to lose on his own? Yes, he has. Maybe not having those primes up to temperature, losing the rear end. And as he rejoins, I think that was Terzic and Pignataro getting involved there, because I saw both of them in the pit lane, unfortunately, as well.
I saw Stebowski as well, actually, in the pit lane, or at least dropping a long way down. Didn't quite realise Rennie was spinning out as a result of being hit from behind, but seems to be the case, as Costa has been overtaken by Jordan now by the looks of things, but he's not going down without a fight once again. Here's a similar situation to the Liam Deval pass, but nothing doing once again, so he stays behind as Carlos Martin continues to make progress. Jake Dennehan can't do anything to keep him behind.
And then side by side into turn 3, but Martin on those soft tyres able to make a position, and he's got a few seconds ahead actually to catch up to Brakshock, but hopefully he might be able to make a couple of positions. And the important point for these guys, if they get themselves within the top 8, they guarantee themselves that reverse grid spot, which is obviously going to gain them quite a bit of time from where they qualified. As we see Dennis Lind here getting down the inside of Yannick Bock, and Lind already up into 14th place, starting at the back, not being able to qualify for basically signing up to the session too late, and is already getting himself into P14. And if he gets himself into that top 12, he might have a chance of that reverse grid pole.
Oh, goodness me, I didn't quite realise, but Lind has been doing very well in this race so far. It's not exactly surprising given his pedigree both in sim racing and real life, but either way, into 14th. The RTN has not done a bad job either, 17th for him. As we mentioned, Alan Terzic has, I'm afraid, been into the pit lane, and he's dropped a long way down, so we're not really able to see his progress, but certainly Lind and Tian doing a great job as Brakshock is trying to get down the inside of Thomas Vack. Oh, we're not quite able to do it. Trying to get that all-important top 8, as you were talking about earlier. It looks like that's an absolute guarantee at this point. How far inside of that top 8 can he get is the main question for me here.
I think, well, we'll have to see, because we've still got half of the sprint race to go, so still plenty of opportunities. And Jans Brakshock now getting on the back of Thomas Vack. Is he going to be able to get that slipstream? But actually, Vack is getting a really good slipstream off Yuri Kastorp in front. And is the RSR driver going to dive it down the inside of turn 1? I don't think he's able to quite make that move stick. And he cannot. Runs a little bit wide there in turn 1, but all good. And it seems actually Noah Roivers now is pressuring Ricardo Costa for 5th place. So battles up and down this field for now.
Yeah, absolutely. This should be the move, surely, for Brakshock now. He should be able to brake a little bit later with those tyres, as Vack won't have anything to defend with, although he's going to try down the inside at turn 5. He's got to be careful he doesn't run into Kostorp here, but look at that. The braking performance on those red stripe tyres, far superior, and the grip around the outside as well. Brakshock through, and Vack just the wise thing to just back out. It's going to be a very nervy interval for him, though, after this sprint race, by the looks of things, to whether he can be right up towards the front or stuck where he is right now, as Hoyer defending from Lind for what is only 12th place.
And Lind already got Skovron off the camera as well, so he's really getting himself up the grid. And it's not to be surprising, because on the practice server, Lind was looking very quick indeed with the qualifying times. It's just a shame, as you say, he wasn't able to participate in that. And now, catch up to Mitch Hoyer, that will put himself inside the top 12. And as he gets a little bit wiggly though in the dirty air through the kink, but can Hoyer defend coming down towards turn 12? Hoyer can't defend at all. Lind down the inside, massive slipstream up the inside, gets the position, and he's up into the top 12. Yeah,
he's run it a little bit deep into Canada corner there, but that was all fine in the end, because Hoyer couldn't come back at him on the exit, and so he's going to be pushed down to 13th. Not been the best season for Burst Esports so far. Hoyer had a nightmare really at Indianapolis. Skovron not too much better, so hoping for better here at Elkhart Lake, but not going that way at the moment, as Noah Roivers is around the outside of Costa, who qualified well, but he's starting to fall back now. We'll be into the clutches of Brakshock in a moment as well, who's into 7th now.
Now this is a nice battle inside the top 10. These drivers obviously... Roivers, can he catch it? Yes, he can. Good catch, but Costa's going to have the overspeed, but I cannot tell you how good a catch that was with Noah Roivers. This car is very slidey on the rear if you're not too careful, and saving it is even harder, but Costa's through there up into 5th place, and now Brakshock is really going to be looking at getting himself towards that top 5, as we see a side-by-side battle with Kastorp and Martin. Last time we saw that, they actually had contact in Indianapolis, so hopefully not again, but Martin also making progress on these alternate tyres.
Yeah, he is at the moment struggling to get through Kastorp. We've shut the door in his face a little bit there, but as that bot goes off in the background of this shot, Tian and Major battling right now into the left-hander at the bottom of the hill here. Is anything going to be able to? He's going to be able to throw it down the inside at all? Doesn't look like it just for the moment, so he stays behind. But yeah, very interesting indeed. Brakshock looking faster than Roivers, and he should be able to get through now, going side by side through the kink, not often advisable, and Roivers does the smart thing to back out. Martin using it to maybe make a move on Kastorp here, who's trying to get through, and Roivers all at the same time. It's free wide very nearly into this corner, turn 12, side by side with Martin, and they're making more contact. Somehow everybody's still pointing the right way. but Roivers has lost out dramatically over the last couple of laps.
Oh my god, that's like five positions? Yeah, 5 positions that he's lost in the space of 1 lap, all because he made that mistake on the exit of turn 3, which just shows you how crucial it is to be driving well in the IndyPRO Championship. There will be people to pounce on your mistakes. Brackshock now up into 6th place on those alternate tyres, really making some good positions. But is he going to be able to get top 5 already? Still a couple of laps to go. And these two guys, Brackshock and Costa, had a really good fight for the lead in the feature race a couple of weeks ago. And now in the sprint race, they're going at it again. You could just see mid-corner there, the amount of extra minimum speed Brackshock could hold, but unfortunately lost it on the apex, or on the exit I should say, and now he's going to have to try once again at another straight. But we also have Carlos Martin coming round the outside of Yuri Kazdorp. Yuri, we know he's pretty good on the brakes into this corner, but Martin with the extra tyre grip, can he go round the outside? That is going to be a really good opportunity for him if he can hold it around the outside of the next corner as well. Such a difficult braking zone up here into turn 6, but Carlos Martin round the outside of the Dutch driver, a little bit of contact, but keeps the position.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good move in the end, quite close, but Kazdorp couldn't really do anything to keep Martin behind him too much longer. Only 2 laps to go at the end of this one, about 2.5 laps as we stand right now. Vosnica and Burliak are kind of removed from all of this. It looks like Brackshock is, well, so are the whole top 4 actually, but yeah, Costa really the cork in the bottle at the moment. We'll see if he can get through, or we'll see if those two can get through on him. Here's Michi Hoyer. We were seeing him outside of the top 10 earlier. He's outside of the top 20 now, I'm afraid. He's really not getting on with this car this season. And this is another example of that. That was going wrong from quite a long way out, and it's ended up with pretty big consequences for him, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I think he just overheated the rears coming out of the corner before, had a huge power slide, and then the tyre temperatures just couldn't cool down in time. And unfortunately, losing the rear in turn 13, not what he would have wanted to do. We did have a couple of crashes just now. I think Benchik had a bit of a spin. Kazdorp has jumped down the order a little bit as well, and so is Frenzy, also having some mistakes on that previous lap. But now let's see Carlos Martin going on the outside now of Ricardo Costa into turn number 1. Can Costa defend on the brakes, or is Martin going to be able to go around the outside? We'll find out in just a second. Is he going to be able to hold on through turn 2? Costa's really trying to defend this on the inside of turn 3, but no. Carlos Martin gets up that position, and the 2 alternate drivers really making some good positions.
Yeah, they are. I feel like that's going to be the limit for them unless these two go on some wild battle in the last few laps, which is not impossible. Dennis Jordan getting through on Duval by the looks of things. But yeah, that move looks pretty sorted. Dennis Jordan doing a good job on this occasion in the sprint race. Not that he did a bad job in the sprint race last time, but he was very quiet. This time he has been moving forward a little bit, and certainly making a bit of a noise as he's into third right now. We'll have a look at Kazdorp now. He was in the fight we were seeing with Brackshock, Martin, etc., but drops outside the top 10 now after a mistake that we're about to see, I think.
What is he? I mean, I know this outside. Oh, it's the inside curve. Wow, that is a high-speed spin. Does he? Oh, he just taps the wall twice. It's going to have a bit of front wing damage from that. But to be honest, that is a decent save. And yeah, fortunate to actually keep the front wing, but a decent save there from Kazdorp. It's a bit uncommon to see that, because you really try and avoid those inside curbs on high-speed corners, but obviously sometimes it does happen. And on lap 8, so coming to start the final lap of the sprint race, Carlos Martin is trying to get on the back of Janos Brackshock, and I think they're a little bit too far to get Liam Duval, but maybe for a personal battle, and these guys will obviously be on the same strategy in the feature race. Could be quite important to see where they can finish. But on to the final lap, can Carlos Martin get Brackshock?
Absolutely, he's looking quite threatening at the moment on the back of the Hungarian. We'll see if he can try and get through turn 1, trying to keep it as tight as possible for as long as possible before firing down towards what is called turn 3 and out of here. One of the most important corners on the circuit as well, along with the final one. You need that run going down that long straight, as Dennis Lind is into the top 10 remarkably, starting so far down after not qualifying. He's into the top 10 now, but here's Carlos Martin trying to get into the top 5. Down the inside, the door was briefly open, but Brackshock firmly shut it as soon as Carlos Martin poked a nose through. So now it's going to be a much more difficult proposition for him to actually get through here. I can't see these 2 positions changing really, unless Martin really does risk it into one of these braking zones.
And this has worked out pretty well for the Spanish driver. He started about 12th place-ish, somewhere around there. and getting himself some good points. But obviously still this last sector and a bit to go to see where they can finish. Brakshock there just having quite a good exit. But that driver I should say, of Dennis Lind up into that top 10, that could be very crucial if he can get lucky enough to be on that reverse grid position. But where can Carlos Martin get himself up to in this sprint race? Late dive down the inside of turn 12. Is he going to be able to get himself past Janus Brakshock? Can he get it stopped? Yes, he can. Carlos Martin with, though he can't get the exit. Brakshock's going to be down the inside of turn 13. This is not a corner you want to go side by side. Two big contacts. Where are they going to end up? Can he keep out the wall? No, he's going to go backwards into the wall. And that, unfortunately, just ends sort of the good race that they had, but across the line. Jan Woznica getting the win in the sprint race from Petter Burlak. Those two not changing position, having a nice comfortable race there in the sprint race. Dennis Jordan doing a good race to get up into third, but with Lim Duval and Ricardo Costa taking the top 5.
Yeah, all of the hard work for those two alternate tyre runners have been wiped out, and Martin can't even keep it on the road here, trying to get it towards the line. He's right in the middle of the circuit. Hopefully everybody is aware that he is there, and I think they should be at this stage. But yeah, that's a real shame for Carlos Martin and for Janus Brakshock. They're both going to be starting well down, quite near each other as well, which might not be the best thing. But yeah, all of that hard work undone late on, and it's hard to know who's at fault here, really. Martin does a good job getting down the inside, and he keeps it a tight line here to try and stop the undercut from Brakshock, but he gets a slide on, allowing the Hungarian to his inside, and then they're just racing hard. I think that's a racing incident for me. They just lightly tap each other, and through a corner when you're on the limit so much like they are through there on their own anyway, you know, it is, and that was quite a rejoin as well. I'm glad nobody collected him. You know, it's such a corner where you're on the limit anyway. It's very, very difficult to go side by side through there on the bumps and all of that. So the incident was bound to happen, but I don't think anybody was really at fault.
Yeah, Carlos, it did look like he left some space. We'd have to obviously see it from Brakshock's onboard. I don't think Brakshock sort of came away from the apex. So yeah, that's an unfortunate way to end the race for them, because they would have been in prime position to be in a good... to get some good points in the feature race from their starting position. But it was Jan Woznica who took the lead, the win fairly comfortably, and we saw him having a great feature race as well. And we will now, in a few moments, find out who is going to be on pole because of the randomized number for the reverse grid. But if you have a look, Dennis Lind in the end got up to 12th place. So again, Dennis Lind is guaranteed a reverse grid spot from the back of the grid. That is an amazing drive in just those 9 laps of the sprint race.
Yeah, absolutely. And who's to say that he won't put in a fantastic performance during the feature race to maybe get himself up towards the front into maybe a podium position or something like that? Because, yeah, it's a fantastic drive from him here in this one. Nearly 20 positions gained in only 9 laps, which is a really astonishing record, and more than an average of more than 2. So, yeah, he's into 8th, but all behind Jan Woznica and Petter Burlak, of course, so we didn't see very much of. Dennis Jordan running out the podium. Liam Duval and Ricardo Costa were in the battles, finished 4th and 5th. Thomas Vax 6th. Have Noah Roivers, who picked up those positions from Martin and Brakshock later on to finish 7th. Then Lind, Denahan and Skrovron to round out your top 10. Burst Esport managed to get themselves inside the top 10 with at least one car, thankfully, in this race.
Yeah, that's... didn't work out well for some drivers, as we see Kazdorp there a little bit low down. You see him having a bit of a spin earlier. Yartine also from the back doing a pretty decent job as well to get up into P12. So he has the potential for reverse grid pole before you get to Remco Major, who unfortunately just missed out on that. And Janus Brakshock, he says DNF, but he's also been given 14th place, as well as Yannick Bock. So I'm not sure exactly who has been given that position on the result sheet. We'll have to find out, because obviously the results sheet is the one that's going to give them the points. And here is how the championship stands after the first race. So we've got Jan Woznica leading by 8 points from Petter Burlak, and Noah Roivers jumped all the way down to 4th place after a slightly disappointing sprint race.
Well, it's not the end of the world. Certainly, we're certainly starting to see an emerging top 6. I was going to say just before the Brakshock and Martin incident, by the way, the top 7 in the championship were all in the top 9 positions in that race. So we were really starting to form a bit of a hierarchy in this kind of championship order. We might condense that down to 6 now, depending on how those guys do in the next race. But we're starting to see already, really, this doesn't often happen in a championship this early on, but it's a short championship and it's already beginning to emerge here. The top 6 are really the protagonists, the main 6 drivers that we're going to be looking at throughout this little championship for the IndyPro Season 2. And we'll see how they all get on during the feature race here. But if they all continue to have clean feature races, they could very much find themselves all inside the top 10 despite the reverse grid. And then we really do have a race on for this championship, because the points difference between one position is generally 1 unless you're in the podium positions. So that is going to keep things very, very tight.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome feature race to see what is going to happen. And we've been told that it is the top 10 who have been who will get the reverse. So that is obviously a good result for those drivers. They're getting themselves inside the top 10, because they now, especially for the ones starting a little bit lower down, they obviously are basically going to gain positions from that, and that will obviously be quite good for them, which means I believe it's Damien Scovron who will be starting on the pole position.
Yeah, I guess you could, at one point I will make about Petter Berlet. We saw him last race at Indianapolis taking on the old alternate strategy by putting on the alternate tyres during the first race 2 weeks ago, and he got those extra points. But considering he's in second position in this one, started second, finished second, you might be wondering, why didn't he put the alternates on again to try and get this race win and then hold on in the feature race? Well, you've got to think of the trade-off here. Using one of your soft tyre stints, which we're considering, there's probably going to be 2 of the alternate tyres and 2 of the primary tyres. They're quite valuable, those 2 stints, and using them throughout the sprint race for the trade-off of only 2 points, because that's what he would have gained if he'd have overtaken Woznica there. I know that's on one of his main championship rivals, so that's, I guess, technically 4 if you think about the kind of trade-off there. But still, that's not enough for me to justify using an entire alternate tyre stint for just the sake of 2 points.
Oh, definitely to be a bit slower in the feature race, when, as you say, they're going to be starting side by side. We'll have to find out. But what we are also going to find out is the result of the community vote, which ended with Sebring leading the way from Virginia and Portland. So, next week we'll be racing at Sebring, and that was good because that was actually quite a good race last season as well. So, yeah, Sebring, the bumpiest track known to man, is going to be coming your way in 1 week's time.
I wouldn't exactly say Virginia or Portland are smooth by comparison, but yes, I guess I see what you mean. It's certainly going to be a challenge on the bumps. A very similar kind of length circuit to the one at Elkhart Lake, but I think maybe a tad more difficult to overtake, a few less real big braking zones with very obvious overtaking opportunities, but there still will be opportunities for everybody to head down the inside when they want to. So it's certainly going to be worth watching, worth tuning in next week. And then just after Christmas, the 2 oval races, which I'm very much looking forward to. It's always these guys. I know that probably most of them have done some oval driving at some point, but to me, they're not kind of oval specialists, none of them. So trying to put some road drivers onto the ovals, and for a lot of them will be out of their comfort zone, and that does provide entertaining racing. Yeah,
I guess the only person maybe Jarl Tyen, because I know he does a lot of the NASCAR stuff in some American leagues, but we will have to wait another couple of races to find out what is going to happen in that one. Also, Dennis Jordan, he won the Indy 300 last time. Liam DeVal is also always up there, but as you say, oval isn't really used too much on rFactor 2. But let's see this reverse grid for the feature race at round 2 of the second season of the IndyPRO Championship. Damien Scovron leading the way from Jake Dennehan. Dennis Lind in 3rd place, with Noah Roivers down in 4th place in car 44. And then on the next page, we got Thomas Vac, Ricardo Costa, Liam DeVal, and Dennis Jordan in the top 8. So actually look out for DeVal and Jordan still having a pretty decent race, because they're not too far down before Petter Berlak and Jan Woznica. Let's see where they can get themselves up to in the pack this time, with Kastorp and Tyen rounding out the top 12, just missing out on that reverse grid this time. Yor and Bok following the way with Jacob Reed and Chukapeka Lalu. They're in 16th place for the Royal Blue Racing driver. Then we have Danny van den Niet, Zoltschukes, Pascal Schmidt, and Carlos Martin, who had that unfortunate incident on the last lap that really cost him a good result in the feature race. He's going to have to do a lot of overtaking once again. Then we got Frenzy, Alan Terzic, Michi Hoyer, and Roberto Pinataro. Both Terzic and Pinataro hopefully can get past turn number 1 this time with a front wing. And then Stopkowski, Timia Benchik, who had a crash there in the sprint race, with Adam Rainey starting at the back of the field. And we saw some really frantic action in that sprint race, and now we got a race 3 times longer with a couple of pit stops to make, and I think the action is going to continue once again.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly does seem that way. Now, immediately the eye is drawn to Jan Vosnicker here, in my opinion. He's the winner of the sprint race, and he's obviously been dropped down to 10th position because the top 10 have been reversed for this particular event, but he's got the rFactor alternate tyres on, and this is,
Damien,
to me,
slow down
certainly
to 120.
A bit of a risk here, in my opinion, because, as I mentioned earlier, your alternate tyre stints in this race, there will be 2 of them, they are valuable, and you don't want to be spending one of them stuck in traffic. If you are in the 10th position, you're certainly going to be spending most of, if not all of, this stint in some form of traffic. We saw Braxo and Martin battling right to the end of that race. I know they started outside the top 10, but they were battling right to the end with everybody. Do you really want to be doing that on one of your alternate tyre stints? I would say probably not, but that's what they've decided to go for. Damien Skrovron going on the alternates is not a surprise, but Jan Vosnicker going on them certainly is.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for these drivers, as you say, if you start on the alternates, but then you get stuck in traffic. It's going to be a bit difficult. But as you see, most of the alternate guys are up the front of the field, so it's not like the sprint race where they're going to have to overtake sort of 10 cars. There's only a couple of cars that they really need to pass. But anyway, let's see how it works out for these drivers. And just remember, there's obviously refueling as well. So because we're going to see probably 2 alternate stints from most teams, around maybe 10-11 laps, that leaves you with maybe 6 or 7 laps on the primes. So these drivers starting on the primes might pit a little bit earlier than you are expecting, and therefore have a lot shorter stops, and you can gain in that process as well. But as we come around to the final couple of corners, Damien Skrovron leading the way on the alternates. He'll want to make sure he keeps ahead of the 2 guys on primes behind him.
Yeah, he absolutely will, because that will really set his race up well. He should be able to, because he's going to be in control of the field. Let's not forget when the finish line comes into sight, and he'll be able to go whenever he wants. But yeah, watch out for Dennis Lind, especially in this race. I think he's got a fantastic chance from the 3rd position.
So what is going to happen in the 2nd feature race of the season here at Elkhart Lake? Who is going to come out on top after the action today when we're going to go green? Damien Skrovron has accelerated, and he's got quite a good jump. Dennis Lind is going to be in that slipstream as well. Jake Dennehan losing out a little bit. Good car length or 2. Dennis Lind now to the outside. Is he going to try and take the lead already? No, he's just going to back out to that one as Noah Roivers comes down the inside of Dennehan as well. So Noah Roivers there. Oh, there's a bit more contact. Jan Vosnicker, championship leader, goes for a bit of a spin in the background. He's lost many places.
Absolutely. Again, the sprint race winner having problems at the start of the feature race. He's spun around. He's 26th. Jan Vosnicker getting going again. Looks like he's been involved with maybe Zoltschukes, who's been there as well. But it's all chaos in the background because Kasdorp has not got a front wing at the moment. He's struggling to stay out of the way of everybody, and he's going to sail into somebody. Oh, Petr Perliak it was. So this is amazing. The top 2 in the sprint race have both been for a spin already.
I don't think Kasdorp knew, because he was braking at a normal braking point there coming into turn number 5, and he obviously had no way near the same amount of downforce, locking up the tyres, and that is so unfortunate. 2 feature races in a row. Petr Perliak has been spun around on the first lap, and once again he's going to have to do a lot of positions and overtaking to get back. He did get a good result in Indy. Let's see what he can do this time, because he also has 2 sets of the alternates in this feature race. But back towards the front, Ricardo Costa back into P5 on those alternate tyres, but they need to get past Lind and Dennehan, otherwise Skrovron is just going to romp up the road, as Dennis Lind now defending on the inside. Dennehan trying to hold on to that position as well.
Yeah, Roivers really did need to do a little bit better with getting through on Dennehan off the start there, I feel, if he wants to really win this race and keep with Scrovram, because as you say, he's getting away as the Burst eSport driver already in this one, and Roivers now has Costa for company, and goodness me, there's a lot of weaving there from Dennis Lind. Almost looked like he was going into the pit lane for a moment. Noah Roivers, though, down the inside he goes, but he's locked together with Dennehan. Almost no speed for Roivers, and Costa might take this as a chance around the outside for the two alternate runners, side by side through 1, down through 2 and into 3. Where is this going to end? Oh, Costa nipping outside of 1 and inside of the other. Nice move, but too late, and there's 3 wide. Roivers takes them both on the inside line, and so Costa is still stuck behind Dennehan. Roivers has finally made his way through.
Oh, that's such a big dive from Costa, and it actually hasn't helped him because he's lost a couple of positions from that. Now we see Vac trying to get involved as well into turn number 5. Dennehan's just going to squeeze out Costa there, losing out, and is Vac going to be able to get up the inside of Costa as well? So 3 positions effectively Costa lost, despite actually being the one to be aggressive and trying to make the move. It hasn't worked out for the Portuguese driver.
No, absolutely hasn't. It's been a bit of a brawl really in the midfield through this opening part of the race. And just to update you, by the way, Jan Vosnica and Peter Burlek both in the pit lane after only 1 lap. It's going to be a race of big damage limitation for them today, and if they want to win this championship, if they want to be there at the end, they have to get as many points as possible, despite the fact they're undoubtedly going to have to take 3 stops in this race.
Yeah, they can't get to the end on 2 stops from here, so that's going to be difficult for them. Thomas Vac now trying to go down the inside of turn 12 on Dennehan. Is he going to be able to do it? Yes, he can. So much superior grip. But he's gone wide, actually, so Dennehan's going to come back. Oh, no, side by side into this corner. We saw what happened between Martin and Brackshot, but these two managed to get up the inside. And now Costa's trying to make a back position. Always make contact with Dennehan, so that is not ideal. But Vac there losing out a couple of positions, and Dennehan trying the Lin tactic of breaking the slipstream.
Yeah, this is completely breathless stuff at the front. Costa been given the slipstream there, so he's just ahead of Vackers with 3 wide behind. There's no tyres involved. Oh, in front, Costa's everywhere. Everybody into the pit wall there. Didn't quite see why they were all over the road there, but completely out of control. Dennehan, the battle here is really backing everybody up. Dennis Jordan's now involved, Liam Duval as well. Here with Yalchin, Remco Machur. It's become a 7-car battle, and especially for Vac and Costa, they have to be frustrated with themselves because it did not have to get this messy.
Certainly didn't, especially with over 20 laps to go of this racing. Still a couple of pit stops to be made, but now Thomas Vac finally trying to get past Dennehan's, able to get himself up into that 4th place. But Dennis Lind on those primes has now got a good 3-second gap, so this is really helping him be of damage limitation in his slow stint in this race. As a reminder, everyone has to use on the alternates now has to go to those primes at some point during the race, as Costa now trying to follow Vac through, but he can't quite do so on Dennehan just yet.
No, not at the moment. Dennehan is defending well, and he does have a right to be there, of course, but for Costa, he has to be getting through here quicker. As I mentioned earlier on in this race, you have to make your time on the alternate tyres count, and if you're in a battle with somebody on primaries throughout that stint, then you're really not quite doing it right. So Costa's going to try and make the move now. He's on the grass, 2 wheels on the grass, and then Dennehan had to have 2 wheels on the grass a little bit later on as well. Costa's finding this very, very difficult indeed, as Brazier and Tyen battle side by side through here as well. Costa down the inside. Surely this is the moment now. Oh, well, he's not given too much room to Dennehan, I have to say, but he's finally through.
And Tyen as well, also having a really great battle. Mior gets sideways on the exit, so Mior's going to get a really good run and actually get a bit of slipstream from the Wolves GR car in front of him. So who is going to come out on top as you get to turn number 1? As you see, this straight is so long, you can get 3 wide with the slipstream, with a couple of cars coming in behind them as well. Mior on the inside, but Dennehan round the outside. Is he going to be able to hold on the exit? Yes, he is. And Dennis Jordan, out of nowhere, is already in this battle, and Terzic is trying to get involved as well with Liam Duval. This is getting a bit crazy down into turn number 3. Yeah,
Terzic down the inside of Duval, and he's side by side still with Jacob Reed here now as well. This is an exceptional battle, and they're all on primary tyres, so they're all meant to be here. They're all scrapping for places, and a bit of single file would be good for some of them, but it's not turning out that way at the moment. Terzic defending. Duval has lost a few positions, losing a few points right now, but he gets through on Jacob Reed once again up the hill and through the left-hander at 6 by the looks of things. So He is through once again, but these guys are all meant to be with each other. They all need to fight each other because they're on the same strategy. They're going to be fighting each other throughout this race, and so they have to fight for every single position. Mazur goes wide, and Yaltian is going to fancy his chances now for 7th.
And the reason why you need to fight so hard for these positions, despite so many laps to go in this race, is because, as you see, if you don't make a position, you'll then get past yourself. Such is how close the battle are in the IndyPRO Championship. Here we go, Yaltian. Can he finally get past Remco Major? Or getting a bit wiggly. This part of the track's actually very thin. And which way is he going to go, left or right? He can't decide, and unfortunately he's going to have to sit behind Major for another lap. But Jordan is really going to be on the back of time. As we saw the section he got last lap, he's even closer this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all allowing Denahan to get away just a little bit. And now it's Mazur who's the cork in the bottle, I guess you might say. And there's so many cars involved here, including some very important ones. Dennis Jordan, I was just about to reference, but he does not want any part of this anymore. He's one of the smartest drivers in the field, Dennis Jordan. He's strategically so aware. He knows that he doesn't want to be involved in this at all. If he gets out onto the other side of the track in some clean air, he can set some very fast lap times and jump them all a little bit later on.
And also his stop's going to be a lot shorter because he would have been smart. He would have started the race with a full tank despite only going the first 5 laps. So he only has to fill up those 5 laps of fuel. So he'll be stopped for a very short amount of time. The only issue is he's now got to do 2 full stints on the alternates, which means he will have a little bit worn tyres compared to some other drivers. But now tying down the inside, Major, can he get it stopped? Just about going onto the grass, but Major back up the inside into turn 6. And Tyne is really struggling to get past Major here. Major also having a bit of a wiggle on the exit through the kink of turn number 7. They're not going to go side by side through there. Unfortunately, his teammate is behind, so he doesn't lose another position. Can he keep it?
He's holding on to it.
Yes, he just about does, but Jacob Reed now has been pushed off. And that's so unfortunate for Jacob Reed. Where has he gone? He's going to come back in, possibly behind Yannick Bock.
Wow, chaotic racing completely. One driver outbrakes themselves and someone else goes through, and then they outbrake themselves and some more people come through. It's absolutely crazy at the moment. I'm amazed Yaltian managed to hold up things going in the right direction as we've got a battle for 3rd going on right now. Dennis Lind getting passed by Thomas Vac. Not exactly a surprise given the tyre difference between them, but I am slightly surprised it's taken Vac so long to get up to Lind at the moment, who's in a fantastic position in this race. The first of the primary runners by an absolute mile because they're all involved in this. Denahan at the moment has got himself out of it. Fortunately, Mazur might be about to do the same, but we'll see if Liam Duval leaves him alone. We are in the pit window though, so things might start to get a little bit more fragmented. They are going to indeed. Lind, Costa, Duval, and also Tian is in, but he's lost his front wing on the entry, hitting the back of the Wolves car in front. And
he needs to make sure that he's got the repair selected, because sometimes if you don't do that, you'll then come out of the pit lane without the front wing because it happens so close to your pit stop. Sometimes that can happen. Let's get a replay and have a bit of a unfortunate situation. It's actually a Yaltian, not Terzic though, and coming into the pit lane. Is he going to just... I think that was actually Duval maybe breaking a little bit earlier than Tyne would have expected, but either way, the car behind, it was his fault.
Looking at, definitely, we'll get that out of the way first, definitely the car behind's responsibility, but I'm not entirely sure Tyne was going to make that pit entry line if indeed he was left to his own devices there, but we'll see. Dennis Jordan has got out miles in front of Duval, which he was in front of anyway, but he's right behind Costa now, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case. In fact, I'm doubly sure that wasn't the case before. I think he might well have jumped all of the primary tyre runners here, including Jake Denahan, who's leading that little train. Obviously, I'm discounting Dennis Lind in that. He's obviously was a primary tyre runner as well. But he had a bit of a head start on the rest of them, miles in front of these guys, as this battle was finally just calmed down a little bit. Everybody coming back down to earth and realising that we've got more than 20 laps to go in this race, but it might be too little too late, really. They've let Dennis Lynn get a massive lead. The ones on the alternates, obviously, have got to defend from it a little bit later on, but they're on the same strategy as him, and he's going to have a big advantage over them as the battle for the lead has been settled. Roivers hits the front finally.
And this could be very important for Rovers, with Burlak still down in P20, Woznica down in P21. This could be a good race for Rovers in terms of the championship points, because the points between positions are quite low. There's only maybe one point But if you then lose 30 points by being at the back, then that's obviously quite a lot to gain. Let's see. This is one of the burst cars on the outside. Yartine's just going to have a bit of a wiggle. Oh, Mitchie Hyde. These two had a bit of a crazy battle in Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago, and Yartine... I'm going to say he didn't want to finish the race, and unfortunately is going to be out of the race from that, which is a bit disappointing because obviously he was in that battle and looking to get some good points, but the BS competition driver is now out of the race.
Well, Costa is in the pit lane again here. Why has Ricardo Costa come in for the second time in only 6 laps? So it's clearly something's gone wrong there. Vosnikar's in again, but that's not a particular surprise. He's just picking up as many points as he possibly can at this stage. Definite surprise to see Costa in, though. And as I mentioned, Denahan has indeed been jumped by Jordan's played such a strategic game here. He's managed to get out in front of Denahan, Terzic, Major, Duval, all of them. 9th place for him at the moment. No more primary tyre running for him to go. I know he has to do those long stints. However, this is fantastic for Dennis Jordan. The fact that he came in so early, set that lap and got out of the battles. It's paid him very, very well indeed. He's looking very good right now for at least a top 5, maybe a podium.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good actually, because if you look at the gap to Denahan as well, it's over 10 seconds. And Denahan only has to do, obviously, a couple of laps short each stint. So I think that's worked out pretty well. As you say, Terzic now on the back of Denahan. Such a big slipstream coming down towards turn 12. Massive overspeed. And he's able to get that position up the inside. That is going to be 11th place there. And Denahan obviously trying his best to keep with the guys. But he was in a position there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's trying his best at the moment, but not able to. Terzic into 11th as Jacob Reed also comes in. It's going to be very interesting. It was going to be interesting with Costa actually going to be in the mix there. But Roybers, Skrovron and Vac, where are they going to end up at the end of this race? They're the leading 3 of those who started on the alternates. They've still got to use a stint of primary tyre running. Lind, Jordan and Duval are the first of those on the alternates. So if I was Roybers and Skrovron, I would be in at this point because I'd at least want to cover off Lind. You're not going to be able to get him back a little bit later on, I wouldn't expect. You want to be in front of him, in my opinion. You want track position so that you can maybe defend on the primary tyres. I would have been in by now if I was them, but they clearly have decided that that's not the strategy they want. Stepkowski is just up in front of them at the moment and might do a bit of a job for Thomas Vac here, but can't really do much at all. Oh, well, Linda's driven him out of road there a little bit, I'm afraid. So he's into 6th place, but it wasn't going to be a difficult pass anyway.
Yeah, and now Lind, look at the gap he's got ahead of him. He can just push into this gap and is looking really in a really good position, which just shows you how that sort of sprint and feature with the reverse skid can really turn things around. Lind, from the very back of the field in the sprint race, is now looking at a net P1 once things sort themselves out. And that could work out pretty well. But the thing is, for the guys who have stayed out with Roybers, Skrovron, Vac, they're obviously going to have a lot shorter pit stops because we're already looking at 4 laps longer. And I think they've continued for another lap. Yes, it's going to be at least 5 laps longer. That's a lot of fuel difference and stationary time difference between the drivers. And Stepkowski there going into the pit lane. Finally, he was a bit slow there. So I wonder if that was maybe him not having quite enough fuel to get back to the pit lane.
Well, that would only be the case if he didn't fill it up to the brim off the start of this race, which would be a strange call. But possible, I suppose, at this stage. We'll see, though. We're really waiting for these first pit stops for Roybers and Skrovron, but I really do think they need to get out in front of Lind, because the final stint for both of them is going to be on the alternate tyres for all of these cars. It depends what tyres he's going to now, I suppose, but even if they do come out behind Lind, and obviously Lind's getting an undercut right now, he's on newer tyres than these two, so he will be going quicker, and I think he is quicker, but they might be able to defend from the front, so if they can do that, then that will be advantageous to them. But if Lind comes out of these pit stops early on here in front of Roybers and Skrovron, then they've got no chance of winning the race, in my opinion, so they do have to really watch themselves here over the next couple of laps.
Yeah, it's such a balanced play. We do know that the undercut is good because the tyre wear is actually quite, even though these stints are so short, I mean, the longest stint you're going to see is only going to be maybe 11 laps. Despite them being so short, the tyre wear does really start to kick in, and the undercut that Lind is getting right now is going to be working a treat as we get Terzic on the back of Duval for 8th position, and he's going to be getting good slipstream like he did on Denahan not too long ago, and a pretty mirrored image overtake down the inside of turn 12, and he's made up another position.
Yeah, Terzic is making good progress here. Duval is having another solid race, which is exactly what you need, especially considering where Voznica and Perliak are at the moment. Here's Thomas Vack. Where's Dennis Lind? He's out in front of them, and judging by that gap, I think Rovers could be in trouble here by the looks of things. He really could be in trouble. I think he could end up behind Dennis Lind, and he has one more stint on the primaries to do compared to the Danes, so it's really not looking good for Rovers, and Dennis Lind is absolutely in the driving seat as far as I'm concerned at the moment.
Yeah, it's funny how the strategy can be so different with only a couple of laps really to play around with. But of course, that is the joy of the IndyPro Series, where we've seen a million different strategies and you don't really know who's going to be the best until we get towards the end. But we've been talking about Dennis Lind having such a good race. Alan Terzic also started from the back and is effectively in that, about 4th place at the moment. So that is working out pretty well for him. So yeah, it seems to be quite good. So it doesn't matter if you start from the back. As long as you have good pace, you can make yourself towards the front. And Noah Rovers is certainly going to have to do something special to compete against that with the strategy that he's on at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Here finally come not Rovers and Scrovron, but is it too little too late for them? Big lock-up for Rovers coming into the pit box here. Maybe there'll be a little bit less fuel taken on here just to get the track position, which I think is the only way you can really deny Dennis Lind the victory. He looks so quick at the moment that it's going to be very difficult to hold him back under any circumstances, in my opinion. But let's wait and see on that one. The Burst eSport car going to pull in here. Could be a bit awkward, this. They look like they're quite close in the order. Oh, well, they're going to be all right, actually. There's a few in between, as Rainey and Martin also come in. The fact that they're in after only 10 laps is a bit of a concern to Dennis Jordan, I would say, because he needs to go 12 through one of these stints, but we'll wait and see on that one a little bit later on. Dennis Lind's going to take the lead, and it's not even going to be close with Rovers. I don't think there was much he could have done there, to be fair, to hold on to that lead. Lind is just on another level at the moment.
Yeah, so these guys, I would assume, are going to do another pretty full tank stint on these soft tyres. So they will have a lot shorter stint at the end. So then they will then gain a bit there, because their next pit stop would effectively be shorter. But as you say, they will then have to go onto those primary tyres, and they won't be able to defend too much in the way of that. So let's see how this one works out. Thomas Vack, I tell you, he's having a good day for RSR, really up there fighting legitimately for position as well in that 5th place. And not too far behind them is Terzic. And it seems like Duval and Denahan, they've dropped off this battle ready for the top positions at the moment. So it looks like the top sort of 5 or so are in a good place, but we don't really know which order they're going to finish in just yet.
No, we absolutely don't, and we don't really know how this is going to affect the championship. It looks like Rovers might well be able to possibly lead it by the end of it, but Jordan is obviously going to be up there as well. Duval is in the conversation. So, well, Costa was, but he's a little bit further down now. We'll really keep an eye on Perliak and Voznica here. What kind of damage limitation can they do? I think it's going to be very important for them over the next few laps. But yeah, this is the new tyre effect. Scrovron right on the back of Jordan here, and it doesn't look like it's going to take him ages to get through by the looks of things.
Yeah, because despite there being obviously quite a big fuel difference, Dennis will be on a lot less fuel. The tyre difference is quite big. Dennis Jordan pit about 6 laps ago now. He pit already, so really halfway through the stint, and those tyres will be starting to hurt just a little bit. And Scovron there down the inside of turn number 1. Thomas Vack getting a huge slipstream there. Is he going to be able to get past the Red Bull driver as well into turn number 1? We know Dennis is quite smart in these battles, potentially won't fight it too hard, but Thomas Vack down the inside now of turn 2 into turn 3. Is he going to be able to hold it? No, he's not. So Dennis Jordan there just losing 1 position, but it's now going to be about 6 seconds off the lead, and doesn't want to lose too much time battling these guys, even though they are really for position.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan definitely... no, Jordan doesn't have tough to take on the primaries again, excuse me, but Scrovron definitely does, and Thomas Vack does as well. So he's got to be kind of safe in the knowledge that he will be able to get them back later. Well, it's not confirmed that he'll be able to get them back later on because he's got a longer pit stop and he's going to be losing time at this stage in the race. However, they are going to be slower at the end of the race, which might allow him the opportunity to get back through again. So I guess fighting at this point is probably not the good thing for either of their races. It would only open up the opportunity to Terzic behind, etc. As Jordan not exactly comfortable right now, trying to save fuel and keep those tyres alive all at the same time. It's very difficult for him at the moment.
Yeah, it's not an easy task, especially when he has Terzic behind as well, who, as we saw in the sprint race, lost his front wing. He's having a bit of a hard time so far this season, but he is obviously one of the faster drivers. Fought for the championship with Yerny Simčić last season, back in the first season of the IndyPRO Championship, but now at the front for the lead, Noah Roivers. This is where he's going to gain, just like we saw with Dennis Jordan as well, losing a position. Lind is also on the older tyres, and Noah Roivers around the outside of turn number 1, although he's just sort of lost the momentum a little bit as he's pulled out of the slipstream. Is it going to be enough to get his car alongside into turn 1? Yes, it is, side by side with these two drivers. Round the outside goes Noah Roivers. Lovely move there. And into turn 3, looks like he's going to be able to hold on to that as Terzic has got past Jordan.
Yeah, very good move there from Roivers. Terzic looks like that was an easy one for him as well. Lind, ever so slightly on the grass, won't have an opportunity to come back at him. And I have to say, I've been quite surprised there. I didn't think Noah Roivers was going to be able to come back at Lind, but the tyres obviously making a big difference there. Roivers being able to get onto the back of Lind again and get through. But you can only imagine what's going to happen later on in this race. How are they going to come out a little bit later? Roivers has to exit the pit lane ahead of Lind for this final stint because he's on the worst tyres. Even if they will be newer, quite possibly, he cannot come from behind to win this race. He has to defend from the front from Lind. If he's out in front by the time these pit stops are over, then he's got a chance, but if not, then he can wave goodbye to it, really. Lind has just got to stay as close as possible for these next few laps and try and get that undercut like he did in the first round of stops.
Yes, indeed. He's lost quite a bit of time as Lind to Noah Roivers. Such is the difference we're talking about. You can actually visually see on the tyres as well, they're starting to get that sort of rough texture that they get when the tyres are starting to wear. But he still needs to go a couple of laps before he can pit and make it towards the end of the race on 1 tank of fuel. So he's just going to have to sit there for now, but still in a really good position, because if you look at the gaps behind, he's obviously going to be in a comfortable place, even if he loses a couple of seconds here and there. But he will have quite a longer stop as Carlos Martin round the outside of Michi Hoy, even though he's on the primary tyres. Michi Hoy there getting a bit of a wiggle on the exit though, but he's able to get back as Carlos Martin is not able to get the exit. But Carlos Martin, in the first stint, he was on the alternate when everyone was on the prime, and now it's obviously the other way round. So he's doing something a little bit different this race as Hoy gets a bad exit.
Yeah, clearly Martin doesn't like doing what everybody else does, and he's the only man in the field to have gone for the primaries throughout the middle part of the race, which is a very strange one to me. But Hoyer trying his best to defend. He's just put these on, by the way, Martin, which is why he's looking so quick. Hoyer's much older, and there is the difference, despite the compound between them. Just more grip for Martin to head around the outside. Nicely done. Hoyer hasn't really got the answer. He hasn't really got a hold of this car, I wouldn't say, at this stage. He has been struggling with it so far. And Martin pouncing on that upper position.
Yeah, I reacted because I saw a yellow circle crashed with some yellow flags on the track map, and I was wondering if that was Dennis Lind at the front because of the colour that he was behind as well. But Danny Van Der Neat losing the rear in sort of appreciation for Costa ahead of him, who also lost the rear, but it was Danny who ended up in the wall, lost his front wing, and I believe has DNF'd from the race. So that is not a good sign for him. Van Der Neat replacing Cas Rietveld in that Netrex Grand Prix team for this race. I don't know which of the drivers will be driving next week, but we will soon find out as Michi Hoy goes off onto the gravel, onto the grass, as he tries to hunt down Carlos Martin, who has got past the German.
Yeah, absolutely. That happened one lap ago, but it's that particular incident there has given Berliak and Woznica another position further down the order. They're not able to do much overtaking, though, which I've not seen any of them really, but still trying to gain as many points as they can, as these two are starting to level out. There will become a point where, despite the fact that Martin's tyres are newer, the compound is going to come to the fore for Michi Hoyer here, but it doesn't look like it's quite on this lap. They look quite evenly matched, and the fact that Michi Hoyer is getting slipstream is kind of making him keep up with Martin up in front. So they're kind of in a stalemate at the moment, but Hoyer might be able to get back through again sooner rather than later.
And looking back towards the front, Linda's dropped off quite a bit from Noah Rovers. The gaps unfortunately do fluctuate sort of quite significantly, so it goes between 3 and 5 seconds, but he's really dropped off quite a bit from Rovers either way. And Skovron now is on the back of the Danish driver coming out towards the end of sector 2 through the carousel, and I believe we will see Lind do at least one more lap, because I would say 11 laps is what he's probably going to go for. End of lap 16, I would expect. So Skovron has another lap to go following the Cetrez Felix driver, but what can Skovron do coming towards turn 12, getting the slipstream? Looks like he's going to be a little bit late for this lap, but we definitely know the Lind is a bit struggling with those tyres now.
Yeah, he certainly is, and a bit unexpectedly, I have to say, but then again, he is at the end of his stint. Oh my word, he's hanging on to it at the moment, hanging on to second place and the car all at once. He's really got a handful. There's still 12 laps to go. He's got to go round one more time, otherwise he's not going to be able to complete this race with the amount of fuel he can have in these cars. So he's got to suffer for one more lap, and he might well suffer a double overtake here. Skovron on the outside. Oh, he pulls in front of Vac, just like a cheeky motorway lane change there from Lind. He's straight into third place and not letting Vac through on the outside.
Yeah, experienced driver knew what was coming. Vac was trying to follow through, but Lind getting back in the slipstream and also really taking that track position away from Vac to dive into on the brakes as well. So Lind is able to hold on to that position for now. Is he going to be able to actually defend coming down to turn 5? Because he's probably got a good slipstream on the back of Skovron as well. So I don't think Vac's going to be able to get past here down into turn number 5, and that could be quite crucial for Lind, not losing that position, just saving that sort of half second that he would have lost there as well. Although he has lost, as we said, quite a bit of time now to Noah Rovers, who's really going up the road, and the difference in pit time is going to be quite crucial between these drivers as well. Lind will obviously have the full pit service for tyres and fuel, which is around 13-14 seconds, and Noah Rovers might be down nearer maybe the sort of 9-second mark when we get to that bit at the end. And that 5-second leeway is going to be very crucial indeed. But let's see, when we get to the end of the lap, if Lind will dive in.
Well, I think the problem he might have here is Vac is going to give him a bit of trouble here into Canada corner. Braking later, he's got more tyre grip, but he hasn't got really the room. Although he's been given the room just about. They're going to maybe go, not quite go side by side into the penultimate corner. But I think the problem Lind might have the fact that the field is so much more strung out than it was 10 laps ago or 11 laps ago when he made his first pit stop. He could nicely come out into clean air and kind of make it work on new tyres. However, he might well be in traffic this time, depending on how this pit stop goes, who's in front of him and who's around and whatever. So he is going to be on new tyres, alternate tyres as well. But where is he going to be on the track? It could be a very, very important moment, as Jordan and Duval also follow him in on the same strategy.
Yeah, they could come out in traffic, which is not ideal. I think they could come out somewhere in that Carlos Martin, Michi Hoyer, Pascal Schmidt battle, looking at the pit times of the guys earlier.
Well, they're all in, so that problem is kind of solved, really. It solved itself because they've all come into the pit lane. So
yeah.
Lind will be okay, which is very fortunate for him. He's got all the free track in the world.
Yeah, so all those drivers there going for the longest stint possible on the, I would assume, the alternates for those guys come out pit at the end of the race, which is interesting to see that they favour the worn alternates at the end of their stint versus an extra couple of laps here and there on the primaries, which is quite an interesting one. Let's see now. Alan Terzic in P4 on the back of Thomas Vac. These guys still need a pit stop, but for now, Terzic is in this battle and is trying to get past Vac, but he hasn't made quite as much progress as I think possibly he could have just yet. Let's see what he's going to do coming into turn 12. It's going to be a bit of a late dive if he gets it on Vac, so it's not going to be this time, but these drivers might be thinking about coming to the pit soon anyway.
Well, yes, but I'm not entirely sure about Terzic, because I thought he had older tyres, but he's not acting like it at the moment, as Berliak has already got through on Costa into 12th place as things stand because of the pit stops, but Vosnik are trying to do the same. Yeah, I think Vac does have newer tyres than Terzic, but seemingly Alan Terzic is doing a fantastic job at the moment. Well, he was until he came into the pit lane, and yeah, very old tyres there, but still making an impression on the back of some of those front three, so that was very impressive. We'll see where he is in relation to Dennis Lind, but I don't think anybody's really going to be able to touch the Dane, especially if they're running the same strategy as him.
Yeah, he's looking in command at the moment with that gap he's got on Dennis Jordan. We just need to see the amount of time that No Rovers has gained, because he gained about 5 seconds on the road, and he'll gain another maybe 3 to 5 seconds in the pit stops with a shorter stint as well. And Terzic there, was that a drive-through penalty?
Well, no, he did definitely come into the pit box, but he was very much not in there for a long time. He's out in front of Jordan. I think his pit stop may well have been shorter. I can't quite remember when he came in the first round of stops. So, but that indicates to me he didn't take on a full tank there, because his stint wasn't the full length. He's decided to get out with Lind, basically on the same tyres, same fuel load, same everything. It's just a chase between the two of them now. 2 seconds as is the gap, and it could well be for the race win if their strategy is the one that prevails.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go, obviously, a bit longer in that regard with the fuel as well. But anyway, let's first of all do this battle with Carlos Martin and Jukka-Pekka Laulu coming out of turn 3 through turn 4. Carlos Martin's going to pull to the right hand side. He's going to be on the outside when we get to the braking zone. Lalu's really sort of squeezing him, and then they come over to the left for the braking zone. Carlos Martin isn't going to be able to go around the outside, but can Lalu get it stopped? He's going to go a bit wide, and Carlos Martin there with the old switcheroo up the inside of now turn 6. Really tricky braking zone. Lalu can't get it stopped. He's going to go wide, and Martin's going to get the position. Yeah,
you can't really see the apex there of that left-hander at turn 6 before you pretty much on it, really, and Lalu was very much a victim of that, despite the fact he was in a battle with Carlos Martin, obviously recovering as Lalu's struggling to hold on to the car. I did see earlier on in the week that he wasn't enjoying driving this car in any way, really, but he seems to be doing okay with it, even despite the fact he doesn't seem to like it very much. He's doing okay at the moment, just outside the top 10 though. For him, here's Dennis Lind though, and the gap very similar. Could be Lind versus Terzic, but Roivers, Skrovron and Vac are all going to have shorter pit stops than Lind did. So despite the fact they're losing time right now, they are going to have shorter pit stops. However, on the other hand, they're going to be on slower tyres towards the end of this race. So which one is going to prevail? That is the question.
Yeah, we will find out. Lap 19, these guys went, I think it was the end of lap 11. So that would be 22. So they might even still have another 3 laps after this one, if they want to go that far to have the shortest possible time on the primaries. And I guess the balance really for them is how good are their alternate tyres. Because if their tyres are starting to wear, then maybe they'll then be slower than they were if they were on the primaries. So they got to judge when they make this pit stop at the right time. Obviously, the later they go, the less fuel they need to take, and the shorter their time will be, as Peter Berlak has been in the pit lane, and he's down in 16th place. So he hasn't been able to make up the positions that he did in the feature race last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the likes of Roivers, Jordan, Deval, all gaining big points. And Costa, DNF, Berliak and Vosnik are all losing points at the front. So it is a battle for the race at the moment. Vac is in, by the way. But while it is a race for the win, it also is, I guess, a battle for the championship lead right now, given the top 2 are out of the equation. It looks like if things were to stay as they are, I know we're in the middle of a pit stop window, but if things stay as they're looking like they're going to be, then I would say Roivers might well be championship leader. But obviously, it's a long season comparatively. There's a lot of points on the line anyway, even though it only ends in less than a month's time. There's a lot of points on the line and a long way to go, of course. So we'll see how it pans out. But this is the first indicator. Thomas Vac was the last of the 3, and he was almost side by side with Dennis Lind and Alan Terzic there. So Skrovron and Roivers look like they might well be able to stay in front of these two.
They might be able to, but as you say, they're going to be on the prime tyres. So what is going to be better? Maybe sort of 3, 4, 5 lap old Alternates or brand new primaries? We are about to find out. Alan Terzic, though, is on the back of Dennis Lind. Alan Terzic is the guy who's sort of orchestrating the setup and the changes in this series behind the scenes, and he's now going to be taking the net race lead as it stands. But he's got a bit wide. Dennis Lind's going to come back up the inside of turn 6, and Alan Terzic is going to have to give up that one because you can't go side by side through here.
Not very easily. So the first punches have landed, and I'm afraid it's a bit of a one each, I guess you might say, as Dennis Lind is just weaving around on the grass, just trying to keep things under control. This is the danger for them, especially while Roivers and Skrovron are out there on their own lapping at the moment. The danger of battling here is quite large, and they are going to lose time, but Terzic wants to get through. He looks quicker than Lind, one of the only people to have looked quicker than Lind all day long, and finally he's got the opportunity to try and get through on him. He's not going to waste this one, it doesn't look like, but it could hurt their race in the long run. Let's wait and see. Terzic down the inside into 12. Looks like he's got it done.
Yeah, he has. That has worked out pretty nice. He's managed to get it stopped this time just about. Dennis Lind can't slide back. The only issue is that has cost them probably a second or so battling, which is obviously not ideal, but Terzic hits the front. And coming out to the final corner, will Lind be able to get the slipstream back down to turn 1?
Let's wait and see. It looks like he will be able to give this a go into turn 1, although his straight line speed and his run onto the straight not great. He's finally picking up some slipstream and getting somewhere, but not deciding to go for it. I think that's a smart decision, and I think that's exactly what I was referring to earlier. They can't fight too much here, otherwise they're both going to lose. They're fighting for the win right now, or they think they are, but if they fight too hard, then neither of them are going to win, so they do have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, and these guys are good friends from back in the day, obviously being teammates, but as it stands, they are racing for different brands and obviously racing for themselves. I think Lind, they're also, as you say, just choosing the safer option. They don't need to battle, and as it looks like he can stay with Terzic, so I think he's just keeping himself in a good position to see what happens. We still have 6 laps to go after this one, so I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see Roivers and Skrovron thinking about coming in, but they're going to have such a short stop at the end. I think they're going to be ahead of these guys.
Well, I think you might be right. Thomas Vac, in the end, he's not exactly losing the back of these guys too much, and his tyre advantage over these guys is a bit smaller than it will be for Roivers and Skrovron, so I'm not entirely convinced they're going to get completely steamrolled here, but the moment of truth is upon us, because Noah Roivers at the end of lap 21 is into the pit lane. Only 6 to go now, and only 6 laps for him to hold on. What kind of margin is he going to have to hold on with? Surely everybody's going to have to come into the pits here, and the field will finally be cleansed for the first time since about lap 5, really. And it's going to be good to see where everybody comes out. Roivers hits his marks, and some of the most important 6 laps of this championship quite possibly coming up for him. Very valuable points, as well as obviously the race win coming up right now on board with Terzic. Roivers already on the pit exit. My goodness, that is a big gap, a bigger one than I was expecting.
Yeah, the pit stop time saved is really good, but is he going to be able to get Skrovron even? Skrovron is going to be there in second place. The issue is his tyre is going to be cold. Terzic is going to be up to speed, albeit on a few lap old alternates already, and he's going to sit behind because he knows he's going to get the run. Down towards turn 5, can Skrovron on the cold primary tyres have the braking performance into turn 5? Let's see what the BS Plus competition driver can do. As he comes, he's getting the slipstream. Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right onto the outside into the braking zone? Is this going to be second position for Alan Terzic? It looks like it is. If he can get it stopped, or he's going to go wide once again. Yes, he is. And Skrovron gets the position back.
Well, this is music to Noah Roivers' ears here at this stage, because they're not teammates, but Skrovron is acting like one to Roivers right now. He needs to get through, does Terzic. So does Lind. If they want a chance at winning this race, they do look quicker. They're not by loads, but they do look quicker on the alternate tyres, and you would expect that on these. But Roivers has got a good margin in the lead of this one. It's all falling into place for him. His main rivals are many positions down. Some of them are down outside of the top 10 at this stage. It's all starting to look very good for Netrex once again, and particularly for Noah Roivers.
Yeah, this could be good because all these guys behind him aren't fighting for the championship as it stands. Obviously, we've only had one round, so we'll have to find out how it looks after the next race in Sebring in a week's time. But yeah, these guys behind Roivers, Skrovron, Terzic, Lind, Vac, they're not really up there. It's Dennis Jordan down there in 6th and Liam DeVal 7th. They're the ones he really needs to worry about, as well as Burlak and Woznica a little bit further down. but can Terzic get this second place? It could be quite crucial. Let's see what happens. Can Skovron defend? He's taken the inside line all the way down the pit straight. Terzic around the outside in turn number 1. He's got some tyre grip. Has Skovron got the tyre grip himself on the primaries? Terzic all wide, all over the grass, but he's made that position stick as long as he can hold it on the brakes, which he can.
He does indeed, and he should be able to hold on to the place now, you would expect, as Dennis Lind is going to try and follow him through, but Skrovron's got a bit of slipstream from Terzic, so he's going to make his life a bit more difficult. Now it's Terzic weaving around, trying to give Lind the slipstream almost into turn 5. A bit too late, too much speed, quite possibly. Lind can't pull it up, but neither can Skrovron. They're both squirming under the brakes and on the power, and they can't get themselves into control. Side by side still through turn 6. Skrovron squeezing Lind as much as is legal, and Lind is surely going to do the same through 7. It's high-speed turn, and just about they get through together. Skrovron might be a little bit disappointed that he wasn't able to hold on there, but Lind with some hard but probably fair racing gets through turn 7 and into 3rd place.
Yeah, on the first glance, that did look pretty good from Lind. They're both giving each other pretty respectful room. And the important point for Skovron is he's got Vac and Jordan coming his way as well. So he doesn't want to lose too much time in his battle, as I think Jordan may be going off in the background there. Skovron, though, to the outside of turn 12. He's going to be able to get past before the braking zone. Lind, late on the brakes, though, going wide. So Skovron's going to get a bit of a better run. Lind there going a bit off the track, but he's able to hold on to that position with that late braking manoeuvre. Skovron might be a little bit disappointed with that because he's now got Vac right on his tail.
Well, yeah, Thomas Vac and Dennis Jordan all here. This is so important for Jordan in particular, by the way. He's going to need these points quite badly. Thomas Vac is going to want, obviously, a podium that's up for grabs right now to add to the top 5. Dennis Lind is going to want to try and get away from all of this at the moment, but I'm not sure he's quite going to be able to. The advantage that he has over these guys in terms of tyres is not very big at all, so this battle might well go down to the flag. 4 laps to go, including this one. No Roivers out front, leading by possibly an unassailable margin. We'll wait and see, but this battle is definitely not over between these 4.
Certainly isn't, as we've had a crash. I see Pinataro crashed, and Mitch Hoyer has as well. But can Skovron come back on Dennis Lind round the outside of turn number 5? These primaries are actually working pretty well against the worn alternates on the Cetres Nita Felix driver. Lind having a bit of a wiggle on the exit, as well as Thomas Vac. So Dennis Jordan, he's going to be diving down the inside of turn 6 in the background as well. I think the Red Bull driver is going to be able to get himself up into that 5th position, which he has. And can Jordan actually fight Skovron for this 4th place in a lap or so's time?
Yeah, absolutely. He's certainly going to want to late on. He always seems to come good towards the end of races. I know Jordan was kind of hanging on for dear life with the fuel situation 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis, so he wasn't really able to flex his muscles towards the end of the race, but it looks like another solid drive from him. It was a 5th and a 6th in the first round. He's in that kind of region again, isn't he? And these consistent points are starting to really add up for him, as these two can't seem to leave each other alone. Skovron looking down the inside. Lind in the end shuts the door because he wasn't quite able to get his nose in there, so they continue nose to tail, but you get the feeling this is still not over. 3 laps to go and many more opportunities for the Burst eSport car to get through, possibly.
But something we haven't really mentioned so far is no Roivers out the front. He's got best part of a 10-second gap to Alan Terzic. Terzic did a really good job getting past there because he's got himself a really good gap for that 2nd place as well. So Terzic, we talk about Dennis Lind the whole race, but Terzic also from the back of the grid in that sprint race is able to get himself up onto this podium for the feature race. So that has worked out really well for him indeed. So he's had some good speed himself. But it is Lind who is holding on to this position, this podium position at the moment, with Skovron just behind. But I don't think this battle is over. We've still got 2.5 laps to go.
Yeah, we do. I really can't help but feel this is not over either at this stage. Into the left-hander at turn 5. Dennis Jordan might have something to say here as well. It doesn't look like Vac has quite got the pace to be with these guys, but Jordan would dearly love to get onto the podium as well and improve on his top 6th place, in the feature race last round. He already is doing that, but he'd love to get on the podium here in this one as well, I'm sure. But to my eye at the moment, to the naked eye, it's looking like he's actually the fastest of the 3, and he's going to have to try and get through on both of these in the final 2 laps. But easier said than done, of course, as Lind slides his way through the carousel.
Yeah, the rear tyres are going to be starting to give up if you do that every single lap, as Skovron is getting that slipstream, really pulls him back into play. But turn 1, it seems, is probably the best overtaking opportunity on the lap. But this turn 12 is also a good opportunity if you can stay close enough. But he really needs to attack Lind here into turn 1, because otherwise Dennis Jordan is probably going to be flying past him.
Yeah, I think he might well be anyway, because he's very close right now. Jordan, as I said, coming into his own at the end. He knows that he can get to the end on these tyres, this fuel, and he can just go all out from here till the end. 2 laps to go officially. But what can Skovron do on the back of Lind here? Weaving around, trying to break the slipstream is Lind. Fortunately, that seems to have worked for him into turn number 1, but it's all closed up a lot. Oh, into the back of him. Skovron brakes too late. Lind goes wide, and Jordan's just going to pick up the pieces.
Oh, that was a bit of an unfortunate, sort of annoying situation there, really, for Skovron, because it has let Dennis Jordan past, and it also might end that opportunity to get Dennis Lind. With the opportunities running up, Dennis Lind now trying to get on the back of Dennis Jordan. Dennis Lind is actually the team manager of Red Bull Racing eSports as well, so these two drivers fighting it out on track, even though they're on separate entities here. But Dennis Jordan up into that 3rd place. That could be crucial in the championship battle, with Noah Rovers really reducing the loss there, getting past those 3 cars behind him in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. That was very, very timely for Dennis Jordan. Skovron just misjudged things by the looks of it. We'll get on board with him now. And obviously will have been carrying a bit more speed than he was used to into turn number 1, having spent this lap in the slipstream, this entire straight in the slipstream with Dennis Lind. And yeah, just ever so slightly too late. It just would have been an innocuous run wide if he was on his own, but the fact that Lind was so close to him meant that it looked a lot more dramatic, that mistake, than it was. And unfortunately, it's cost the both of them in the end.
But you can just see the way the slipstream works. As he was getting closer and closer, he was just getting sucked in, and the last sort of half a second, he really just accelerated that last car length, and I think that didn't help him in judging the braking distance. But we're coming to just 1 lap to go here at the feature race of round 2 of the IndyPRO series, and let's see who is going to come out on this podium. It looks like Noah Rovers, Alan Terzic have their positions sorted at the front, but this final podium position still needs to be decided with just 1 lap to go.
Yeah, we keep talking about a close championship at the moment. That was 4 points. That one small mistake from Skovron, not even Jordan's making, has gained him 4 points, as they're both absolutely on the limit and sometimes over it. Particularly Dennis Lind, who's doing his best right now to get a podium, and he does deserve it, having started the sprint race so far down. And I know he got a bit of an advantage from the reverse grid here, but even so, he's done a fantastic job in this one as well. Down towards turn 5, the best opportunity for him, and he's nowhere near close enough.
Yeah, the back straight turn 12 is his real last opportunity. It looks like his rear tyres are just giving up. He has been sliding them a little bit more than some other drivers that we've been seeing. And remember, Jordan is on a fairly similar strategy as well, so it's not like Jordan's got a huge advantage there, but Lind in that 4th place will still be fairly happy with that, I'm sure. As we come back to the 2 Wolves GR Esports, could be quite crucial for the team's championship as well. Obviously, they got their 2 cars fairly high up in this race, because they are currently sitting in, I believe it's 2nd place for this team in that Constructors Championship, so we'll have to see. But on the final lap, it is Noah Rovers. We weren't sure about his strategy, but that short pit stop at the end has really worked wonders for him. He was able to stay out on his own pretty much the whole race and run the pace that he needed to, and he's going to be winning this feature race by quite some distance from Alan Terzic. And the P1 Sim Netrex driver is going to be coming across the line to take another feature race victory, adding to his feature race victory a couple of weeks ago in Indianapolis. Good job from Noah Rovers and his team to get himself up there. Alan Terzic from the back of the field in the sprint race, getting himself 2nd place. And then Dennis Jordan will be pretty pleased to get on the podium, followed by Dennis Lind, who also came from the back of the field, just showing how fast he and Terzic have been, with Damien Skovron in 5th place, Thomas Fack in 6th, then the 2 Wolves GRs in 7th and 8th, Yannick Bock in 9th place, and it looks like Jacob Reed will be just about getting 10th position.
Yeah, it was quite close. Well, it was quite close to the back marker. It wasn't Carlos Martin in the end who's going to be 11th. But yeah, very important race, that one there. Rovers taking a big step forward in the championship. I believe it's going to be 9 points between himself and Jordan, and the gap between himself and Vosnica, I believe, is going to be Well, not too much, well, maybe just below 20 points, between 10 and 20 points anyway. I can't quite do the exact maths right now, but a big day for Berliak and Voznica, and particularly for the Croatian, Petar Berliak. He must be thinking what he can do in this series, because 2 times now, as you mentioned, 2 times he's been spun around on lap 1 of the feature race, and neither of them were his fault, really, and he's lost out on a lot of points because of it.
Yes, it's a bit of a... It's sort of a penalty for success, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because twice there, as you say, for Berliak, getting hit by another car on the opening lap of the feature race after having such a good sprint race. But that is just how it goes sometimes. And just, unfortunately, that's how racing goes. Kasdorp, the way I saw it is I don't think he knew he didn't have a front wing just because of how late he was braking. I think if he knew, he wouldn't have been battling those cars so hard. And unfortunately, that resulted in Berliak going down there. Woznica losing the rear end as well in turn 1. But certainly, this is going to make the championship standings quite interesting.
It is indeed. We'll get a look at those in a few moments, but yeah, Royver's just got to enjoy the victory here, really. And I was worried for him a little bit. I have to say, I know he came into this race tied championship leaders with Jan Voznica, but it wasn't a great sprint race for him, but had a much better time of things in the feature race, as have a number of these guys actually, including this man Alan Terzic, I suppose. But yeah, it's been another interesting day, a very important one as well. I'm sure we'll be looking back possibly on this race at the end, and this might be the moment for a few people that defined their championship.
Well, we're going to see if we can try and get a bit of a replay from the start of the race. But certainly, it was a very entertaining race once again in the IndyPRO Championship. And Sebring in a couple of weeks, I think, is going to be just the same. And let's have a bit of a start here for Alan Terzic. Obviously, it says he's in the second place at the moment, but you can just see how far back he was. And let's see how many cars is he going to really try and get past, because to get up into second place is certainly very good. Oh, you can see Jan Voznica just getting out of the way. That was quite fortunate. He's already got past 6-7 cars before we even get there. Then coming into turn 3, he's got Bock and Jacob Reed right in front of him. And this is with Kasdorp, who didn't even know, as I said, that he had his front wing. And this is potentially going to be another couple of positions. Plus, Kasdorp is going to be going down and smashing into the side of Petar Berliak, who knew no difference, unfortunately, in turn 5. So that's a very good start from Alan Terzic, making up places from all of the chaos, plus getting past having a battle with Van der Neet as well.
Yeah, most of it was just picking his way through the chaos there, really, and that's been a story of the season for some drivers. Certainly, just getting through the chaos is a very good way of picking up quite a lot of points in this championship. And Terzic's just done that, done a very good job of that. He's not going to be too far away. Actually, being 9th place coming into today. On that one, he's not going to be a million miles away, but let's see on that one as we look at the race results. Roivers, Terzic and Jordan on the podium, Linden, Scrover rounding out the top 5. Then it was Vactor, Val, Denahan, Bock and Reed rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, very good results from those guys indeed. Before we look a little bit further down, you just see there Berliak in 14th, Jan Voznica in 15th. That's going to be a crucial one for the championship. Then unfortunately, only 16 cars finished there. It was quite an attritional feature race. We saw quite a few accidents. And here is the standings. Noah Roivers leads the way by 8 points, but then it is very close behind with Woznica, Jordan and Val only separated by 2 points between those 3 drivers. Petar Berliak is still in with a very good shout despite those 2 issues so far, before there's a bit of a jump to Terzic in 6th place. But we'll now just grab Noah Roivers, Dennis Jordan and Alan Terzic for an interview. So we got Noah Roivers here, race winner, championship leader, 2 feature race wins in a row as well. How does that feel, Noah?
Unreal, let's say. I was really struggling with the car during practice, and tire management was really difficult. But like halfway through the main race, I finally got the hang of it. The sprint race was a bit difficult. I pushed far too hard on the hard tires on the beginning, and then I started battling. And obviously, when you don't have the confidence on the tires, normally your confidence also drops off while battling. But I'm really happy to come back in the main race and then take a win again.
So Jan had a bit of an unfortunate race today. Burlak also got hit as well. So you've got a bit of a lead in the championship. Does that mean you're going to be a little bit safe going into Sebring next week, or are you still going to be trying to be a bit aggressive and get those positions?
Well, first of all, to Jan, really gutted that he was involved in an incident, and I'm pretty sure that he will come back from it. But knowing myself, normally I'm not the most dangerous driver. Let's say I don't go for like really big bold moves. And if I try to, like you saw in Familiar Challenge in the past, it normally went wrong. So I gotta stay in that consistent, calm type of driving for the next race. And yeah, obviously the overs are after that, which is going to be even more insane. So let's see. It's going to be interesting and fun for sure.
Well, yeah, congratulations for today. And yeah, good luck next week as well.
Thank you.
And second place in that feature race was Alan Terzic. And Alan, you obviously started from the back of the field in the sprint race. So do you think that was a pretty good result, or do you think you possibly could have got the win in another day?
Well, I started P23 in the second race as well, but that was really fun, and I just want to say great job by Noah. He's just been doing so well. He's improved a lot in the last year.
Yeah, certainly has. And yeah, you're right. Obviously, yeah, we just saw a replay of your start. It looked pretty hectic. Did you
Yes.
do anything special to keep out of the way, or was that just all pure instinct?
Your luck, more like.
Yeah, certainly. Do you think you can? I know you're a little bit further down in the championship, but do you think you can do anything to catch back up to these guys, or are you just going to try and have a bit of fun in the next few races?
If I'm honest, I haven't even looked at the points standings. I'm just doing this for fun, more or less. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Oh, good job. We're at Sebring next week as well, which I know you quite enjoy. So good luck there, and we hope to speak to you again. Good job today.
You.
And Dennis Jordan, third place. A pretty solid day for you, Dennis, I would say. Unfortunately, Terzic there at the end being able to get past on pretty good strategy. Do you think you could have done anything different?
Well, yeah, probably in hindsight, I shouldn't have pitted lap 4, but the pack I was in was just crazy. I think we were going 4 wide for like the whole lap before. So I just thought I had to pull out of this and pit. I knew the mileage would be tough because it's a long lap, but yeah, I don't know if it has changed anything in the end. I still got P3, so I guess that was maximum anyway.
Yes, indeed. And do you think you can do anything to catch the likes of Noah? Obviously, Noah winning a couple of feature races in a row now. Do you think you can do anything about that?
Well, what's the gap? You tell me. Then I can give you a guess. But I mean, we are doing this for fun, and I think so is he. Let's see. I think Indianapolis still is double points or more points, so we're gonna check before that race where we are in the championship, and then see what we can do.
Well, good job today, anyway, and hopefully we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you.
And lastly, we will speak to Jan Wozka. An unfortunate race in the feature race, but first, Jan, you did a good job in that sprint race. Looked like a fairly comfortable victory.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was a very comfortable victory. I think I managed to pace very well. I think at the last lap maybe my tires fell a little bit off, but still it was a good victory. And yeah, shame what happened in the main race, but I guess these things happen, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next one now.
Yeah, do you think there's sort of anything you could have done different, really, in that way, or do you think it was just a factor of being back in the pack?
I don't really want to say anything wrong because I don't even know what exactly happened. I guess I'm just gonna watch the replay of the start, and yeah, maybe it was a racing incident, maybe it wasn't me. I don't know. Let's see.
But do you still carry some confidence coming into Sebring next week, or do you still feel like you can challenge at the front? Because obviously you're pretty quick in qualifying, especially.
Yeah, definitely. I think the championship is still not over. I think I can still fight for it. Maybe the luck is gonna turn around for me. But yeah, let's see. I'm confident, and I think I can go for it.
Good luck anyway, and we will see you next week. Maybe on another pole position.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's the interview for the top 3 and the winner of the sprint race as well. But Ewan, that has certainly been a very entertaining couple of hours of action here on the IndyPRO Championship. And next week we go to Sebring.
Yeah, once again, Sebring, like we did last season, as you mentioned, it was a good round last time. Community have decided, and it's going to be Sebring for the next week's race. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Once again, it's the last road race round of the season. So last time we'll be seeing the strategic kind of things going on that we have in these particular races on the road circuits. So looking forward to that, and Sebring races do tend to be good. So yeah, we're setting ourselves up nicely for this IndyPRO Championship, continuing on in a similar way to what it was last season, which was a very good championship indeed, and it's looking that way again. So yeah, I'm very much optimistic of the entertainment next week.
Yeah, and already with the 2 oval races only having 1 race, of course, we've already done 4 of the 8 races, so we're already halfway through this championship, such is the way. But yeah, next week, 19th of December, we'll be hitting the bumps of Sebring for the final road course of the season before we hit the ovals in early 2022. We thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.